And this is where shit hits the fan.
Honestly, this isn't surprising because I don't think she has a background in like design or manufacturing. So why would we be expecting perfection on her?
So I have been following this brand since its conception in early 2025 because whilst I'm not Gyaru myself, I really admire the fashion and energy. I'd really like to build a Gyaru Decora outfit, and what you're seeing here is my attempt with all the things that I currently own. Actually, I'm selling these bracelets on my shop, they're not even mine. Of course, I am not attempting Gyaru makeup today, so Gyaru police, don't come for me. This is not me trying to do Gyaru, this is my personal style. I am not gal. But because I like Gyaru so much, I like to follow brands and accounts that do Gyaru fashion. And I have had my eye on Cinnagal's brand. So before I get into this, I need to clarify that I do not condone bullying or harassment of any kind. And if you go to Cinnagal's page because of this video, I am going to be very upset. We do not do that here. So who is Cinnagal? Cinnagal is a popular gaijin gyaru, gaijin meaning foreigner in Japanese, with about 500k followers cross-platform, so they are a very popular figure, and they make general J fashion videos along with gyaru content. Cinnagal, also known as Jax, uses they-them pronouns. I couldn't figure out what their gender identity is, but they use they-them, and lots of people seem to misgender them, which is unfortunate. But we will not be doing that on this channel. Now, if you look through the comment sections on Mariposa Rosa videos or just like videos about Cinnagal, you will find that there are some negative sentiments towards Jax. They seem like a pretty controversial creator. I haven't followed them for a while, but I know that I personally think their videos are like pretty decent. I like them. And aside from the disappointing clothing line, which we will get into, I can't really seem to figure out why Jax themselves is so controversial. Now, I'd like to point out that while Jax has their haters, they also have a lot of support. Again, 500,000 followers cross-platform. Lots of people like and support Cinnagal, which is one of the reasons why their brand gained so much traction. So I was looking through places like TikTok and Reddit and even YouTube to find out why Cinnagal might be problematic. And I do see some accusations of bullying and spreading misinformation, but I'm going to be so honest with you. It's hard to find any proof. I have no reason to believe that Jax is a terrible person like some people claim they are. And knowing what I know about the internet, some people will just hate for the fun of it, so it could be that. I mean, you can breathe wrong and someone will try and cancel you on TikTok. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised at all if this very video becomes controversial. Oh dear. And honestly, I don't even really suggest you do your own research on this topic because it is a shit show. Apparently, the lolcow forums are somehow involved. If anyone posts on the lolcow forums, that is a major red flag. If you post there, I straight up don't think you're a good person. I will say, in order to get valuable screenshots and proof, I did have to go on that website. But again, if you want to keep your sanity, don't go on lolcow because it is 90% bullying and 10% actual critiques. There's also an hour-long video that tried to document all the reasons why Cinnagal is problematic, but I wouldn't even really recommend watching it. It's pretty poorly edited, the screenshots are confusing, and it's kind of hard to hear audio-wise. From what I can tell, it doesn't seem to be super damning evidence. No, not to be mean or anything, but it is a little bit of a nothing burger. Now, there are definitely some instances in the video where Cinnagal is being really unprofessional about the brand, Mariposa Rosa, or times where they seem stressed out or sassy, but I genuinely don't think it's anything that makes them an awful person. That being said, this video is a discussion and reaction video. Feel free to comment below your thoughts or experiences, opinions, whatever about Cinnagal. I don't have much skin in the game as a very casual Gyaru admirer, so I am very willing to change my opinion on Jax, based on whatever evidence can be provided. You can even DM me. I might include context and information if I ever make a follow-up video, but I cannot stress this enough. I need actual proof, not petty screenshots that can be misinterpreted. Now, what goes beyond petty drama is this clothing situation. Believe me, I would not be making a video if I didn't think this was a serious or interesting enough topic. I actually thought this was going to be a relatively short video, but as I dive deeper and deeper into the drama, I realized there are definitely quite a few things I want to cover, so let's get into it. As I said before, Jax's brand is called Mariposa Rosa, and it is a Gyaru-inspired brand made in 2025. The official About info reads, the story. Created by Cinnagal, Mariposa Rosa is a slow fashion brand that's meant to be a love letter to the 90s and 2010s Japanese street fashion styles, particularly Gyaru but with a refreshing, subversive twist. You'll never see MP release things that have been 100% done before. Our designs will always incorporate something unconventional, whether it be a new take on old patterns, color palettes, or silhouettes. Our designs are sugary sweet, playful, and eccentric. Mariposa Rosa is for people who aren't afraid to challenge strict fashion rules or make a style their own. So I got this short paragraph from the brand's Instagram, as their website seems to be under maintenance right now. What drew me personally to the brand before the designs were revealed was that it was going to be in Western sizing and up to 3XL. I love Gyaru brands, but so many of them have small sizing, so I think it's really awesome to see Western brands picking up where the Asian brands lack. They also have plans to extend their sizing to 5XL, I believe. Sadly, I don't have any pictures of this because MP posts most of their stuff to their Instagram stories that only stay online for 24 hours, but during this period and beyond, they posted Would You Rather style voting for their followers to express which styles and colors they liked, and I think this is a really fun way to get market research. And I remember enjoying voting on the stories. So far, I think everyone was pretty excited. Then MP showed off their designs in a drawing made by Scorpibot, and still everyone was excited. Scorpibot actually has their own controversies. Allegedly, they never sent out some art prints, so customers have been calling them a scammer in the past, which is very interesting considering people are now calling Mariposa Rosa a scam. The first launch was a Neapolitan set described as the Choco Ichigo Agejo collection is a sugary sweet Neapolitan twist on classic Agejo Gyaru designs. It includes 6 items: a heart button halter top, a bow skirt, a rhinestone lace bolero, adjustable thigh-high socks, and a set of 2 hair bows. The pink and black Agejo sets, while iconic, are so popular that they're borderline overdone. Yet I know that they are one of the most desired J-fashion items that people want to see re-enter the market. So I thought, what twist could I put on this classic to make it more modern and experimental? What if I replaced the black with brown, used lighter shades of pink, and added heart motifs to make the outfit more sweet than sexy? I started sketching, and the more I thought about it, the more I fell in love with the idea, especially because I knew you guys would love it too. It just works so well and seamlessly combines 2 incredibly popular concepts. Kinda genius, if you ask me. Looking at the designs, this is when I figured I probably wasn't really that interested. I do think they look really nice in the drawing, and I'm not throwing any shade yet. I think it's cute. It's just not really for me, and that is totally okay. However, I was still invested in supporting the brand because so far there were no red flags. I did start paying less attention, however, so I know for a fact that I missed some drama in the Instagram stories. Everyone else also seemed really receptive to the designs at this point, but when the samples came in, that's when things really started to get scrutinized a bit more. Later in the video, we are going to go through the posts about the samples and kind of discuss them and pick them apart a little, because the samples really made people worried. I'm also going to play the announcement video here so you can hear directly what is said about MP by Jax themselves.
This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. I'm so happy to announce that this September, I'll be dropping a plus-size inclusive, ethically and sustainably manufactured gal brand called Mariposa Rosa.
Plus-size inclusive. Put a pin in that because I have some thoughts about it.
Our first collection, the Choco Ichigo Agejo collection, is a sugary sweet Neapolitan twist on classic Agejo Gyaru designs. And shout out to Scorpibot for the amazing and beautiful art. Go follow them if you aren't already. The collection comes with 6 pieces: a heart button halter top, a mini skirt that comes with a bow and pink heart rhinestone detailing on the back, a lace bolero with little pink gemstones placed throughout, and a pink satin ribbon tie, a set of 2 hair bows with rhinestone heart detailing, and adjustable thigh-high socks, meaning that you tie the bow yourself to adjust it to the shape of your thighs. And yes, the skirt comes with built-in safety shorts. We will likely produce in Portugal, which is known for its textile industry, high-quality craftsmanship, and sustainability standards. This will give our clothing a luxurious European feeling to it, which differentiates us from other Western J fashion brands.
Maybe this is nitpicky, but to say it will have a luxurious European feeling to it feels a little anti-Asia? I mean, I know Cinnagal chose a European factory because of the ethics, but there are still ethical factories in places like China and unethical places in Europe, so this kind of feels a little bit greenwashy. I don't know, I just don't think there's a luxurious, specifically European feeling that, even exists. How can you feel the Europeanness? And once we see the end product, you definitely wouldn't be able to tell it apart from clothing made outside of Europe.
For this first collection, the plaid fabric is 100% cotton and the brown fabric is Ponte di Roma, which is a premium Italian double knit jersey fabric that's mostly made of rayon, which is processed from wood pulp, with a little bit of nylon and spandex to help with stretch for size inclusivity. While we're not 100% certain about pricing yet, our pricing will be in the same range as other Gaijin-owned gal brands such as Hello Angel Girl, Baby Metal Club, and Shushu Cherry. If you want to keep up with us on our journey, here's our Instagram page. We do regular Q&As and polls about gal fashion and what you guys want to see from us. Let me know in the comments, are you guys excited about this new brand and collection? Will you be buying it?
So back to the ethics claims, and because I don't have first-hand sources to prove this was said, please correct me if I am misinformed, but allegedly MP ended up making an Instagram story post, and this is why I am frustrated that all the important information was in stories and not permanent posts, because I don't have receipts. Is that the factory that they used that they claim were ethical never seemed to have certifications to prove that they are, meaning customers never had evidence to back these claims. I believe, and again, I don't have these screenshots, but I believe allegedly Cinnagal made a statement about continuing to work with the manufacturer about getting their certifications. Now, just because the manufacturer doesn't have certifications doesn't prove that they aren't ethical. But it doesn't prove that they are either. What I think I'm really confused about is why MP focuses so much on ethics of their clothing if they can't back up the claims. I also think some of the detractors seem to be misinformed about the industry as well. People seem to be expecting the manufacturer to be released, name dropped, which never happens, by the way. If you're expecting Cinnagal to share gate-kept industry information like that, you're a bit doo-doo brained. Now, of course, MP is a small brand, so I wouldn't be surprised if Jax just got too wrapped up in the excitement. I mean, it seems really hard to find a manufacturer in general, as it is a bit gate-kept, and even harder to find one that is ethical. Personally, I think it might have been better to just not talk about ethics until something like a certification was approved. I'm also curious how Jax knows it's an ethical manufacturer without any certifications, because so far we're really just trusting their word for it. Now, so far, this seems like a small hiccup. I personally don't find it too big of a deal, but I can see why others would when the pricing is being justified by the ethics. Which leads us to quite possibly the second biggest controversy, the pricing. I'd like to clarify that I think as a brand, artist, or merchant, people should be able to price their items however they want. Fashion like this is a privilege after all, not a human right or need. And I do believe Jax when they say their samples are half of the asking price. I don't actually have any evidence as to why I believe that. I think I'm just choosing to be faithful here. If you're new to pricing, by the way, items are usually sold from 2 to 3 times the cost of materials and overhead costs. That is very reasonable. But the full set of items is over $400 US. Again, I don't think it matters if the quality and designs were any good. And they weren't. Actually, it's not even a 6-piece set because 2 of the hair bows they were planning became a single bow. And personally, for the better, I think it did end up looking better. Now here is a breakdown of the individual costs of the items. Now, apparently prices kept getting raised and adjusted, so I'm not sure if these were the official pricings came time to order, because I heard the number $500 floating around on the internet, but from what I can say, I believe it was $410 for the full outfit. The top is $130 USD, the skirt is $115, the bolero is $86, the socks are $38, and the bows are $42. People were especially upset about the bow being $42 and the socks being $38. Now, if I think about the bows, I know a good bow can be pricey. 6% Doki Doki, which is known as like a kind of expensive Harajuku brand, has a single bow and a fair bit smaller for $25 USD. That is still a lot, but it's also still $25 USD. It's not 40. Now, brands can price things however they want, but people can also complain as much as they want. And $42 for a bow is wild. The bow is really cute though, I'll say that. I think it looks well constructed. I don't see any flaws in it. Although as of filming this, I've only seen the samples for the bow. No customer reviews. Now, one good thing throughout the sample process is that Jax does show alterations and changes. But then again, that's very standard and you have to do that. Apparently, and I have no proof because it was in Instagram stories, but the manufacturer was requesting changes because they couldn't do certain things. But at least there was some sample fixing, which I think led some of the designs looking different from the drawing. Allegedly, of course, this is just what I've heard from the grapevine. But at least there were some sample fixing. It does seem like, though, that Cinnagal was largely disregarding criticism, blocking, deleting, and deflecting any complaints coming their way. For how controversial this brand is, there are hardly any criticisms in MP's comment sections. You just can't find any discussions there, only praise. And if people were truly just providing critiques like they said they were, deleting and blocking seems like a really unprofessional thing for a brand to do. I'm also going to leave some comments on screen for you to pause and read if you'd like. I think some of the comments you can find online seem a bit harsh, but there's honestly lots of valid thoughts and opinions that seem really fair to me. That being said, of course, Cinnagal does seem to have their fair share of haters, so I'm not surprised if they were genuinely getting harassed for their brand. In fact, Cinnagal actually claims that they were harassed and dogpiled on for their brand. And I think it can definitely be up for debate. Were people talking bad about the brand because it's like actual doo-doo? Or were they just being haters? Personally, I think a bit of both. This here is a screenshot of some genuine criticism, and based on the replies, it seems like Jax did actually take it too personally, and may have reacted in an unprofessional way. But we will never know for sure because they deleted their own comments. I think it's just them trying to profit off something they are not experienced enough in to deliver a high quality product, and yet that is frustrating. Okay. A brand can't be charging luxury pricing when it lacks a level of polish in design, fit, and materials. The set isn't quite reading Agejo either. It feels a little under-researched as well, which makes sense given Jax doesn't wear much Agejo. Now, I'm pretty sure there would have been a reply by Jax here based on the next comment. The next comment reads, "My comment was not intended to critique you as a person, just the pricing and quality not seeming to match, and just my own personal opinion on the design, which is just me. I hope the brand works out." It's just really inaccessible to a lot of Gyaru as well, so I think that's the main pushback. However, I don't think anyone should be trying to hate on you as a person. That's not fair. But I think community critique is a part of the creative process. By experience, I also mean in fashion design and manufacturing and not in Gyaru. I saw your page because of hearing about the brand, and I can tell you've been Gyaru for a while. My words weren't clear enough sounding in the first part of my comment. So first of all, I actually think this commenter was so valid in everything they said. I get it. And as for the second comment, I'm wondering if this is touching on the fact that some people seem to think that Jax isn't Gyaru or Gyaru enough. Now, I'm not going to touch that conversation with a 10-foot pole, but it is something that people are saying. So then a completely different commenter chimes in, "Diva, for the sake of your brand, I don't think it's a good idea to be individually responding to discourse, especially on comment sections. I understand it's a lot all at once, but it can absolutely wear you out and demoralize you. I think it's best not to engage with each person individually this way. It's your decision though, obviously, but this kind of thing can take a toll on a person mentally, and I just worry a little." Which I think is also really reasonable and an empathetic response. I'm only bringing this conversation up as proof that I think Cinnagal was taking things a bit more personally than they should. Unfortunately, I had to get this screenshot from the lolcow forum, and people were being way more harsh about it. But I personally have a lot of empathy for Cinnagal with how stressful this situation is. So while we are on the topic of criticism, I absolutely believe that some members of the gaijin gal community can take this shit a little too far. Another new Gyaru brand called Candy's Baking Shop was driven out of the Gyaru community for not being gal enough or being too experimental. There's also claims that the harassment of this person, Candy, was racially motivated, which really wouldn't surprise me. For the most part, the Western gal community seems to be really diverse with lots of POC creators, but there's also a crazy amount of ignorance when it comes to race and how black culture is a part of Gyaru. I might actually make a video on Gyaru history at some point, but it is widely accepted that American black culture was a major influence to the Gyaru aesthetic, and this can be seen so evidently in BK. But because of this, lots of people will try to justify stuff like blackface without listening or caring about actual POC creators in the community. So it definitely seems like racism is an issue. Now, Mariposa Rosa actually made a statement pretty similar to Candy's Baking Shop, where they stated that they are straying away from being a gal-specific brand, likely to avoid backlash of trying too innovative styles that kind of upset old-school gatters. Now, gaijin gather spaces also seem to have this problem of gatekeeping, I think especially on Twitter, but then, you know, it's Twitter, they're all insane there. Actually, Cinnagal had this little drama moment with a subreddit called r/actuallygatter, which I am subscribed to, and I know for a fact that, like, they're not some crazy, like, mob trying to get at people. I'm not saying that there aren't mean people there, I'm not saying that there's never people who gatekeep, but I will say that it's a pretty genuine community. I don't really see anything wrong with it, but then I'm not in the community myself, so I am an outsider. Oh yeah, here's the video, by the way.
We're taking a new direction. While most of our pieces will still work for Gyaru and we will still be releasing Gyaru-inspired collections, we will no longer be marketing ourselves as primarily a Gyaru brand. Our intention was always to expand beyond the niche and make pieces inspired by Korean Y2K, early internet girly dress-up games, etc. We want to create sugary sweet nostalgic pieces that heal your inner child, and while we love Gyaru, it limits us, especially considering how strict and critical the community can be at times. We have already announced we're looking into other manufacturers and materials we can use to lower prices. We said we would factor in criticisms about the design for a special holiday version, but that wasn't enough for people, and that's okay.
Just chiming in to say that yes, they do seem to be looking at a Chinese manufacturer now, and I think later on they even said that they weren't going to use the same manufacturer in Portugal after this whole thing came out. I'd like to just include that because I think I forgot to mention it anywhere else.
Instead of begging for acceptance from a space that's difficult to satisfy, it's better that we do our own thing as a brand that's generally inspired by East Asian fashion trends. Again, I love Gyaru and always will, but it is limiting, and the community is often tiring, even towards people who try and do things right or have good intentions. We want our brand to be a beacon of light and diversity in the community, but that feels increasingly more difficult by the day while the community is in this current state.
So from comments like this by Cinnagal, I can totally understand why some people in the Gyaru community got upset at them. It kind of feels like they're diverting any like actual criticism and instead just saying it's all hate and making the community out to be a lot worse than it actually is. Because I know that like at least some of the Reddit threads and stuff, like they weren't that bad. It was, a lot of it is just like genuine criticism and discussion, and like sure, people were saying it was bad and stuff, but that's also people's genuine opinions.
But instead of being sad or disheartened, we're actually really excited. A weight has been lifted from my shoulders, so ultimately I feel like this was the right decision. Instead of making a special holiday version of our Choco Ichigo Agejo set like we had originally planned, we are opting to release a smaller collection early next year. Thank you so much for following us and supporting us in this journey. We cannot wait to show you what we've been cooking.
So this is where I definitely feel bad for Cinnagal. I can't imagine the stress of being critiqued so heavily. I just want to pop in and say that I know that I just said that I thought it wasn't that bad. I think there's definitely a big difference between hate and critique. Sometimes the line can be blurry, but there is a difference, and I think it's valid to feel upset at harsh critique, but you also can't demonize a community for just giving their opinions on a brand that, in my opinion, was unprofessional and not very good. I think that's what makes it hard for Cinnagal to figure out what is valid criticism and what is just negativity and complaining, because it can be a really fine line, let's be honest. They also made a statement about leaving leaving the internet, and I think this really shows how this environment is bad for brand owners and their mental health. Although apparently them leaving didn't really last long. So all that aside, let's get back to the actual clothing samples. This is a video by Cinna on some of the changes made to the first couple of samples. Well, when I say couple of samples, it's a bit tricky. It feels like there were barely any samples received because the entire thing seemed really rushed.
Our new samples have arrived. First off, we made the undergarments for the skirt longer so they're more like shorts and less like underwear. As you can see, the pant fabric is pretty thick, but it's also very soft and comfortable.
So I do think these undershorts look quite nice. I personally don't like undershorts because they can be uncomfortable or make sizing harder, but these ones look really nice.
The skirt has a really good weight to it, like, that's a skirt.
I don't know about that. It seems fine, I guess. I've heard people say it sounds cheap, but I don't really know.
We also made the waistband a little bit thicker to prevent folding. Here's a close-up of some of the stitching on the skirt. This is what the bow stitching looks like. Here is some of the stitching on the top. We went for a 12 SPI, which means stitches per inch for a high-end finish.
Some of the stitching here looks a little funny. It could totally be the angle or perspective, but some of it looks a bit uneven. Not trying to be too nitpicky or anything.
For the top, we did emphasize the heart a little bit more. We also made it a little bit shorter and tighter so that you could see the rhinestone heart on the back of the skirt. I did slightly miss the mark on measuring it though, so it went from being a little too big on me to being a little too tight on me, but we will fix that in the size chart for production. For the hair bow, we made it a lot bigger and removed the charm. We're going to sell it as one giant hair bow instead of a set of two.
The hair bows. The hair bows are really cute and definitely an improvement. It doesn't look like it's worth $42, but whatever.
So this is what the new sample looks like on. I honestly really like the way it came out. The fit is definitely much better and the skirt is super. I also quickly want to address the criticism where people are saying that the materials are cheap. The pant fabric is a very thick double knit fabric, but I think people are actually referring to the cotton. I think people don't really know what 100% cotton looks like, so they perceive it as being papery. Maybe it's polyester brain rot, but cotton doesn't hold shape, so I also will let you guys know that when you dry these, hang dry them so they won't wrinkle because good quality cotton tends to wrinkle.
Now, I do totally understand why people think cotton looks cheap, and it isn't an expensive fabric anyway. Now, I'm not saying I think cotton looks particularly cheap, but there are downsides to cotton, like they said with the wrinkling, which is a pity as it is more sustainable and breathable. Personally, I like cotton, but the appearance can be a bit
Also for the socks, we did not order a second sample because the only adjustment we're making is dyeing the socks to match the pant fabric, so it wasn't really necessary to order another sample and have it go through fabric development and all of that when we know what the adjustment is. And the bolero had to go through fabric production again, so we should have the updated bolero soon. Thank you guys so much for being so understanding and patient with me. It's really scary doing something like this for the first time, but you guys have made it truly worth it, so thank you. Our drop is in 6 days on September 25th, and let us know what you think of these adjustments in the comments.
Now, I'm not fully sure what they mean by this. Did they never order a sample of the revised socks to show everyone? Now, the updated bolero is interesting because I couldn't find another video specifying which one was the updated one. Actually, it's in my personal opinion based on the evidence, or I could be wrong, but I don't think the final sample of the bolero was ever received, or at the very least shown to customers. Because the listing for the bolero never had a proper picture, just a drawing, but I'll get into that soon. Now, during this period and throughout, people were actually confused on what part of the outfit is actually cotton and what is meant to be a blend of fabrics. Like, I even saw some people go so far as to say that none of it was cotton and it was all polyester, which is not true. If I find some good evidence of people here being confused or the brand saying things, I will edit it in here.
People are saying the materials are cheap. The pant fabric is a very thick double knit fabric, but I think people are actually referring to the cotton.
Okay, I'm back, and it seems like the revised samples and then the official ones sent out did have different fabrics. The brown material in the items actually sent to customers was the cotton. So the dress was made out of the punt stuff, which might be why it ended up being so bad. Now, quickly, pre-orders were approaching. 1 week until pre-order drops, and some more pictures are revealed, and honestly, it looks pretty cute. The bust even looks like it has some room. Maybe not for a very full bust, but it seems decent from this picture. The only thing I don't like is the heart. You really can't tell that there's meant to be a heart there, especially from a distance. It kinda just looks like the pattern is messed up. I know a lot of people were dissatisfied with how the art was implemented, and honestly, so valid. Now, I want to point out that the timeline from here on gets a bit confusing. From what it looks like, a photo shoot did come out before the pre-orders were live. and I think all the orders were going to be a pre-order/made to order based on this statement. Also, we will be releasing on a pre-order system. This means you will receive your order within 4 to 6 weeks of placing it. I know it's a long time to wait, but this method reduces waste since we only produce the amount that is needed. If we ever decide to stock inventory of our items for quicker shipping, they will be made in very small batches to assure we are not adding to the issue of overproduction. So I think this way of releasing clothing is awesome, by the way. I have zero issue with this, and I think it's really responsible. However, if the photo shoot was released after some of the pre-orders, which allegedly happened, going off the first reviewer's statement, it seems like they didn't see the photo shoot until after they ordered. But that confuses me because the Instagram timeline directly contradicts this. A commenter on the first review ever posted on TikTok said this: "Oh my god, I'm so sorry for your experience." And who is the reviewer said, "I'm actually so gutted. Like, I knew the pieces weren't going to be the best when the photo shoot came out after the pre-orders, but I didn't know it was going to be that sloppy." So I'm thinking, were there 2 different pre-ordering periods? With one being before the photo shoot came out? I spoke to someone about it and we came to the conclusion that something about a pre-order period was talked about on the Instagram stories, but then the idea was supposedly scrapped. I don't know, but again, the fact that vital information is only being shared on Instagram story posts is a terrible, terrible business practice. Because now that there is controversy, there is just rumors and guessing, and even at the time, customers were kind of left in the dark. Not everyone goes on Instagram every day, and if you put your important statements in the stories, it's not going to reach everyone. Also, in this hard to see TikTok, you can see the listings briefly, and they do show the photo shoot on the listing, so I don't even know. But I will say that it will be highly, highly unprofessional to collect pre-orders for items that were never fully revealed, especially as a first drop where you have no business rapport. So if it's true that this person ordered these before the photo shoot was shown, and we will get into the photo shoot because it's a whole thing, then I'm going to be so honest. Calling it a scam seems pretty accurate. You cannot do that. You need to receive the final samples and you gotta show them to people so they can properly make up their mind. Because the photo shoot really proved that the quality was not gonna be that good. So if anyone would like to help clear up this timeline issue, thank you so much. At the very least, we know that there were no images for the final Bolero, which never made the minimum order requirement of I think 200 to 300 orders. And thank fuck for that, because there is a reason why it didn't reach the MOQ. It was a completely different shade of brown. And because Jax got so much critique that they seemingly have ignored, who's to say that the final Bolero was going to be a good shade of brown or look any good? Like, I am so glad there was no surprise reveal. Like, you can't sell things that people haven't seen. I also saw a lot of criticism of the color on Reddit, and personally, I totally agree. It is awful. As a sample, I'd understand if it was getting fixed. But nobody saw the fixed version, and it probably would have made the MOQ if the final sample was received and it looked good. This is a perfect example of Cinnagal shooting themselves in the foot by rushing the entire process. And for what? Why the rush? People want quality. Genuinely, as of right now, there is no official statement by Cinnagal, and I really hope that they kind of shine light on why the hell this production was so rushed, because I think if they took their time, it would have come out a lot better. There was potential in this release, and people liked the design. Now, these pictures, which is the photo shoot, dropped 48 hours before the pre-sale. These might have been the most controversial of them all. The bust looks ill-fitting, although in the sample video, Jack said they had a too small size, and I'm thinking maybe it's the same sample. The bust also looks like a little bit of a different fit from the other picture as well, but I'm pretty sure it's the same sample piece. I think it's just different posing. But the entire halter top does not look well constructed or well designed at all. And this is my biggest problem with the item and design. There is no bust room. When we watch a review video later, you'll see that it's even worse. The top has no darts at the hem of the bodice. Now, my technical sewing terms aren't the best, but I believe there should be darts or something in this area. This was like a $130 top, but it's just a rectangle. I do not believe this top can accommodate more than a B cup, which makes the whole size inclusive thing just kind of a farce. People who are a bigger size tend to have a bigger bust anyway, and I just don't see how this top is going to work because it seems like they scaled up evenly instead of making the bust proportional to bigger bodies. Now, of course, as a medium bust person myself, I realize you can't expect every brand to accommodate you. I think 90% of clothing with bodices like that are just always too small for me. And I don't even have big boobs. It's just a sad reality that most clothing is made with small busts in mind. But the fact that this top doesn't even seem to try is baffling. I can't imagine this being size inclusive, and that's what pisses me off. It's also a major worry that despite marketing as more size inclusive, we don't see items modeled on anybody else. Now, as a small business owner myself, I understand the struggle of affording samples, but I really wonder if different bust sizes were even considered when designing this. It's also not even particularly flattering on Cinnagal themselves or particularly comfy looking. Like, let the girls breathe. Now, this is my own personal opinion based on what I've seen, so I could be wrong, but I don't believe any curvy or plus size models were involved when the samples were received. I don't think Jax even considered doing try-ons for other body types or trying to adapt the clothing in any way. Because how does this happen? And I'll tell you, through neglect, rushing the pieces to production, and not having any experience in fashion design. Now, there is a sizing chart that I found in the comments. Again, not on the website because the website is under maintenance. And this gives us an idea of how many inches the bust should be able to accommodate for. Also, this fucking fly in my room is driving me crazy. It's summer in Australia, so if you know, you know. To me, the sizing for the bust should be quite accommodating, but the issue isn't the size, it's the construction and pattern. I'm actually quite curious how much of the patterning and construction work Jax was actually involved with. Here's a comment asking about samples, and Jax has offered some advice which I think could be a really good indicator of how they went about getting NP's clothing made. They respond with, "So first, I'd draft up your concept, then I'd find an independent designer to draft your tech packs, which are essentially full instructions for the manufacturer as to how to make the garments. Then pick your price point / quality and then find a manufacturer based off that." I do wonder if maybe an unskilled independent designer was hired for the tech packs, or if the boob issue was just in Jax's original drafts. Just a theory. As of recording, we don't have any statements on the issue. I will say though that of course Jax did receive these samples and allegedly failed to model them on different body types, which is 100% on them as a brand owner. I also think this comment is interesting. Someone on TikTok says, after the first review came out, "I'm starting to wonder whether Cinna is trying to scam people or if they are being scammed by the manufacturer. Between the sudden price increase shortly before release, the low quality, and the manufacturer having zero certification of ethical manufacturing." I've already spoken a little bit about the zero certifications and the fact that the manufacturer supposedly had to change the samples. And yeah, from what I can see, there were also price increases. Gave advice that they should price the items twice as much as it costs to make them. And I kind of do wonder, is Jax possibly being taken advantage of? Now, that is just a theory. I mean, again, Jax has operated the business so poorly that I wouldn't even be surprised if this is just like another blunder on their part by choosing a terrible manufacturer. So, as for criticism, yes, there has been a lot of it, but also a lot of people defending the brand. After all, it is a first launch. I'm going to play a video by another gal TikToker, Butterscotch.
$500 for this set is insane. And I love Jax, but I think she is way too under fire for this right now. And I think some of y'all are taking this little fashion shit a little too far. You need to calm down. There's a fit issue. The heart detail gets lost and the colors of the browns don't exactly match together. But it's an original concept and design. And honestly, this isn't surprising because I don't think she has a background in like designer manufacturing or anything like that. So why would we be expecting perfection on her first product? I think she's just a girl who has a dream of making the style a lot more inclusive, and I stand for that.
Please don't get discouraged, Jax. You got this.
This video sums up my thoughts and a lot of other people's thoughts at the time pretty well. Yes, things were pricey, they looked bad, but expecting a perfect release is unrealistic. So now, finally, months after the orders were open, it's time to see some reviews. And this is where shit hits the fan. First of all, as of recording this, there aren't too many reviews out, but the first ever review that we have been blessed with comes from and this video has officially breached containment. As of writing the script, this review has reached 90,000 likes. It is making the rounds and exposing the drama to people who haven't even heard of the brand. This shit is nuclear for Mariposa Rosa. And this is bad fucking news because this might be the worst ever review of a brand I have ever seen. And as soon as I saw this TikTok, I knew I had to make a video. Also, just letting you know, I'm gonna have to ad-lib this because I think there's a little bit of music in the background and also it isn't voiced, so for anybody just listening, I'm gonna read it out. I got the Mariposa Rosa set in the mail and I'm going to be honest about it. Let's get started, there's a lot to say. First off, the top is not made with breasts in mind, it's just a rectangle. For a fabric like this, you need to add darts so it curves with the body. The fabric is just awful, feels very unpleasant and thin. These halter straps are too far apart on the garment, they just dig into my arms. It's puckering at the seams, which it shouldn't be. I wouldn't even consider this a heart, to be honest. Doesn't show on camera, but the seams seem to be pulling at the fabric. And the bow, it looks fine on camera, but the fabric is just awful. It's printed on really low quality material and has zero give. We can see that the brown material is cotton and the Neapolitan fabric is made of viscose, polymid, and elastane. Synthetic fibers aren't bad. I will give them credit. The brown cotton is pretty decent. Odd nitpick, but why is the tag only secured at the top? The bow is poorly attached. It's not secured at the base of the bow, only the top, and one of those has already come off. It's just so floppy, sorry, it actually distracted me. This is hanging on for dear life. Unfortunately, there's already a hole in the cotton shorts, which isn't great. The rhinestones seem to be on fine. Absolutely not worth the money. I'm going to have to add my own lining to the skirt, attach the bow better and the like. I don't know if I can salvage the top at all though. It's not just cut wrong, it's been designed wrong. So yeah. It's really bad. There's not only construction issues, but it seems like quality issues as well. MP's official public response was a comment saying, "We are so sorry this happened. We are going to reach out to our manufacturer to figure out why this happened. Please email us and we will give you a full refund." And the reply to this is a lot. Somebody says, "At this point, stop making clothes. Shut down. Close your company. You shouldn't have even started a company and it's frying me because you really tried to hype this trash up as if it was better than Shein, but it's worse." And listen, I'm not a Shein shopper, alright, but I have had some clothing of theirs in the past and I mean, at least it fits, right? I mean, at least all the clothes that I have had from Shein fits. And it does look like Shein quality, which is unfortunate. But I will say, this comment was really harsh. I think that if Mariposa Rosa tried really hard, they could come back from this. I think they can, but it's gonna involve a lot of refunds. And you know that video that I just played before, defending Cinnagal and Mariposa Rosa by Butterscotch? Well, after this review, Butterscotch has officially called out the brand as a scam. and the comments all agree. Now here is another review of the set without the blur, of course because the blur never came out, thank God.
I bought from Mariposa Rosa. Let's see what's inside. So I got the top and the skirt. I originally also ordered the bolero, but that didn't come because not enough people ordered it, so I got a refund. So let's review the stuff I actually did get. Okay, jump scare, but I don't know if this was just me ordering the wrong size, but it just did not, really fit, and the pattern part was just really, stiff and did not have any type of give. It just was, really loose around the top, wasn't really sized right, it didn't even look like a heart, and I don't know. I feel like if it was made with the same material as the brown part, I literally wouldn't have to turn it inside out to get it off me, or maybe it would actually fit a little, because I have shirts that are really tight on me but fit. Anywho, the skirt was okay. The fabric was the same printed fabric used as on the top, but the brown part felt nice and felt like a band. And on the back, the bow was just kind of odd. I didn't like really how it blended in with the skirt, so it just looked like more unnecessary ruffles. I couldn't tell what part where was supposed to be where. It was really kind of confusing, but over that, the fabric just felt kind of cheap. But the rhinestones, those hold it on. They were attached extremely good. So that's a good thing about this. I don't think it was worth the price listed. It was just way too much money for poor quality and design. I see that Mariposa Rosa is coming out and designing a new collection. I can only hope that they can do better and have better prices. A lot of small businesses take several years to have their product be put out there. It's a back and forth process of sending your design and getting samples and making sure that it is designed right. And I feel like in this process there wasn't much back and forth, and that's why the design came out so poorly. I feel like something that Mariposa Rosa can do in the future is just take a much longer design process and get a manufacturer that is more willing to make samples for a lower price and to make sure you get your design right. Because some parts of it is just poor design. Not just bad quality, just poor design.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything this person said. The first launch collection for Mariposa Rosa seems so rushed. And I really think it would have done a lot better if maybe Cinnagal just took the time and care that it takes to actually get these things sorted out. There is also this clip of Goddess Maya styling the skirt. Hopefully I said your name right. And it looks a lot better here. You can see that the bow looks pretty secure and not overall floppy, and it's a really cute outfit. The skirt does kind of look like Shein quality, but it can clearly be worn well, so I don't think everyone who receives the products will be unhappy. Hopefully the production issues in terms of quality and stitching won't affect too many people, because if Cinnagal has to do too many refunds, I think it could really bankrupt the business. Especially as the MOQ was around 200 to 300 items. That's a lot of orders. And with the halter tops being as bad as they are, I kind of feel like all of those should be refunded. Those should have not been sent out. Mariposa Rosa has released an Instagram statement saying they will make a more official statement later on, and they have said that they fully refunded the first which I believe was the right thing to do. Has also confirmed that the refund is being processed. So what is my final verdict? I don't think I can form an official opinion yet, only because of how little reviews are out, and that we don't know how many refunds will be needed. I don't think this was ever meant to be a scam, but I could see it being a cash grab. I just think that Cinnagal is a really bad business owner, and I don't say that with any malice. But this situation has been wild. And there was plenty of drama that I haven't even covered that I felt like was just petty or not important. But I do feel really bad for Cinnagal because I can't even begin to imagine how stressful this situation has been from them. And I don't want to have added to the stress, but I think this video was really important to make because I feel really bad for the customers. And I think there's a lot of red flags in this video that might help people decide where to spend their money a little better. I hope we can take this as a learning opportunity instead of some petty bullshit. And I'd love to potentially get a response from Cinnagal or an official statement discussing why things were so rushed. And Jax, if you are watching, I will make a part 2 if more information comes out. And if you're willing, I'd be even up for an interview or something. I really hope this video doesn't come off as a hit piece, because that is very much not my intention. And I need to reiterate that no one should go and harass them because of this video. I will never condone bullying and harassment. So yeah, final thoughts. I don't think it's a scam. I have heard that apparently Cinnagal is moving manufacturers to a Chinese manufacturer. But hopefully, I mean, look, if it bankrupts them, it bankrupts them. If that happens, it happens. I think the most important thing is to get the refunds out there to those who need them, because I would not be surprised if more people are going to need refunds. If you've made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you so much. Please consider subscribing because I am going to be making so much more J-fashion videos. As of posting this one, I already have one that's like half edited, so things are going to come out soon. Bye!